he disappeared. Because he knew I was going to tell them, not only did their house need cleaning up, it stunk. And he said, oh God, you just can't tell people that. You just can't. I mean,
it was like I was just like melting. And I was sitting there, but she didn't see me because she was just going to do her thing. And I was like, oh dear God. And so then they said, well, what's wrong with it? Well, it's dirty. What? Okay, we can clean. Well, what else? Well, it smells bad. And they're like, well, what's it smell like? Old people.
So this is why we were such great partners, is that I was okay. It's funny, I was okay telling people what they need.
What you can believe, right? Right.
See, he has a system, and this is what I think is really good. He has a system that snaps him back into changing that thought. That's what it is. It's about changing that thought when you have it. Because we do know when we're having it. We know when we're scared. We know when we're feeling doubtful. We know when we're grabbing something to eat and we've already eaten and we don't need it and we're not really hungry, but we're doing it anyway. We know what we can do to stop, but we don't because of our thoughts. And if 98% of what we're thinking today we thought yesterday, it's really hard. So it is hard to change your thoughts, but that's what this class is about, to help you do that and help you find other ways to feel good about whatever business you're in, because you've already written what do you truly want. Now you've written is it true. Now, does anybody here? Sure, go ahead.
I want love, happiness, a healthy lifestyle, people who support me, money, and financial security.
Is that true?
Yes. I think there's only one bit that I'm struggling with it. When I wrote is it true, I was like, no, maybe not.
Interesting, because everything you would want, to me, that's what everybody would want, and yet you're struggling with one part of that?
Okay, yeah.
Want to share? You don't have to.
No, I can. So I think it's the financial security bit, which is interesting because
Law of compensation.
Right? Yeah. And it's almost like I sometimes feel I don't deserve it. Don't know why that is. And I actually had this experience earlier this week. The same.
So this is exactly what came up on my email before I started the class, was that law of compensation. We don't believe we deserve to be compensated. This is a thought, you guys. This isn't real. Every successful person in the world will tell you that they have had to overcome huge failures, that she loved to communicate.
So it's interesting because, one reason why I stayed up here when you started that was when I hear people say this is what I want to do, is that the question? And then you
what do I truly want? When you say is this true?
And then is it true? And so my thing is, as soon as you question anything on the list, you put everything at jeopardy, right? So when you question one thing out of the list that you've all written down, that might be your stumbling block, like is it true? And you said no, it's the, am I worthy of it or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much.
That's why I put that in.
Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is traits of natural born leaders, which will segue us right into the most positive thing. JR is positive in a very different way than Judy. He is very effervescently positive, so that you either resonate with that or you don't. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I don't know how many people here have heard of EST or LifeSpring. I know you have. Yes. I did a course called LifeSpring once. And in one of the exercises in this course was you had to locate the person in the room you were least attractive to. You were least attracted to. And I thought to myself, this was many years ago, and I thought, well, nobody's going to choose me. All of a sudden it gets, they go around, and this gorgeous guy, I mean, this was like movie star gorgeous, raises his hand like this. And the leader says, well, who are you least attracted to? And of course, I'm just kind of, because nobody's chosen me, because I know nobody's going to choose me, right? And he goes, her. And I'm like, me? And I was absolutely devastated that he thought I was the least attractive person in this whole room of like 100 people. And it turned out, this is the greatest thing about this, it turned out that when people see you at a listing appointment, when buyers walk in, I don't care who you are, you could be the most gorgeous person in the world, you could be the best dressed person in the world, you could come armed with every statistic and fact, you know every listing, you know every pending, you know every sold. They don't like you. And they go and they pick somebody that isn't anywhere near as experienced as you are. And you go, what in the world was that? It's because you remind them of someone that either hurt them terribly. I reminded him of his mother. Oh. And she hurt him. She locked him in closets. I mean, she really hurt. And when it finally came out, what happened, he started crying. He said, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that. I was crying because anybody that thought I was the least attractive person in the world. I mean, this was like the worst. I want to say that because we're going into the natural, the next section is the traits of natural-born leaders. I love this, and I printed it out for us. And the first one is they dare to fail. And boy, is that true about leaders. This woman I work for, she's 89 years old. You say no to her, she is going, you never say no to her. It took me about 6 months. You just never want to say no to that woman. So they dare to fail, and resilience is really the key thing about people who who won't fail. They just dare to fail. And so I'd like to, and here it was about Huffington. This is about Ariana. Yeah, she said her starting Huffington Post was a stepping stone. No, her running for governor was a stepping stone to success because it was because of that and that terrible experience that she had. They just don't let themselves burn out because it's hard to come back from burnout. I've burned out. I've burned out several times in my life. And it's really hard to come back once you've burned out. It's really hard. So great leaders don't let themselves get to that place. They really listen. This is a big one, and we're going to talk about this more because later on in the workbook, it's going to be the questions. And so they really listen. It's one of the things that realtors that I coach, and I coach them individually and online, they don't listen. You have to listen. You cannot be thinking about other things. You can't be thinking about what you're making for dinner. One of the things that we did at Judy's office is that people that wanted to do floor, I actually don't think everybody should do floor. She disagrees with me on that one, but now you're on my side. I think that people who do floor and they're not there with the intention of selling a house or picking up a buyer, they shouldn't be there. It is a waste of your employer's money and time and resources. And I would see people sitting at the floor desk at the computer doing everything but real estate. They would be reconciling their bank accounts. They would be worrying about bills, which how is that going to help you pick up a buyer or a seller? You should be at that computer looking at every single thing on the market, what's listed, what's just gone into escrow, what has expired. You can catch somebody, if you can catch that expiration in that moment, you have an opportunity to go after a really great listing. Price reductions, you should know that, because someone's going to come up, and we're going to get into that. I'm going to let Judy speak first, but when we get into that, we're going to talk about some of these questions, which are really fun. Hillary Clinton, this is about Bill Clinton. He's a great listener. It's one of his greatest traits. Hillary Clinton, I had the opportunity to go see her 2 weeks ago, and actually got to take a picture with her, gave her my book. It matters about them as a person. This woman, when she speaks, She looks right at you. She put her arm around me. She held my hand. It was unbelievable. I mean, she was right there. She was so present when she was talking. But I mean, of course, she's a professional at this. But still, the point is that there were others there that didn't do that. I agree with Maria. Maria thinks that only women should run this country. That we should just give it a break. The traits of these great leaders, which I'm going to now turn the floor over to Judy Perfetta. And you're going to talk about?
And I thought, because, well, stepping back a second, one of the things that you said that I wanted to talk about a little bit was, I am a great believer in, I'm sure I can say it. I'm also a crier. He's a crier.
I told you these were not random guests, you guys. This is the first time I've ever known her to even agree to do this. And I mean, I can't even tell you, and because you were, and I like what you said, that you were born that way, because you think about it. We come from the same mother, father. We have brothers and sisters.
And I had some hard things.
And you had some hard things. And so she was born, I guess, to see the bright side of life.
Yes. But I also am a great believer in believing that anyone can do whatever they really want to do. I mean, we all have the same capabilities. We all have the same potential. Some people are brighter in certain ways and have other things. But we're all able, it's just identifying what you really want to do, and you touched on that. And I think that's the hardest part, is to really get down. And when you aren't getting something you think you want, why? Why is that? I mean, what's keeping you from, that? Because, and it's usually fear of either not being worthy of it, or something that you're just not as good, or you're not good enough. But then you really dig deeper into that, which is a whole other thing, is why? I mean, why do you believe that? I mean, why do you think you're not, worthy of something? Because we can all do whatever we want. I mean, absolutely. And I believe that someone who's not achieving their potential, they don't want to, for some reason. So, that's where you have to really take some time and really, kind of dig deeper into that. That's not positive thinking. So I wanted to finish. You sent me this. And it was a great, it was just kind of neat for me. It was 20 habits of supremely happy people. And I checked up on, he was the father of positive psychology. So I read this, and the number one, they surround themselves with other happy people. If you're, want to be happy, you don't want to be around a whole bunch of mensches that are always complaining. You want to try to drag them over to your side of the fence where you're always happy. And, we did.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with happy people. And number two is they smile when they smile, they mean it. And that was what you said about JR. There's nothing better than a beautiful smile.
And you know what? No, I was just thinking of something. When you are on floor, see, I have to go back to floor.
Yeah.
When you're on floor,
you can hear a smile.
You can
on the
hear.
phone. Stand up and smile when they're talking on the phone, because you can hear a smile.
Well, and you can hear other things once you hear the smile. I'm going to tell this little story. You'll like this story, and you'll remember this story. Somebody else was on floor that day. I was in the office. Because I believe in showing up at the office, you guys. I believe that something happens when you show up at the office. I was sitting at my desk. The floor agent came over and put this person on hold and said, "Victoria, can you take this call? I've got a drunk man on the phone. I've got a drunk man." I said, "Sure, I'll take it. This will be my person." He says, "Oh, go for it. You can have it." I pick up the phone, and sure enough, he does sound like, but I stood up when I was talking to him, and I was happy. I was smiling. I don't know why I was smiling, but I was smiling. And he must have felt something, but at that very moment, I heard the PA speaker of a hospital. And I heard them say something, room, da-da-da-da. You can hear it. You know what that sounds like, that sound. And I said, Mr. Owens, I said, are you in the hospital? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh my gosh, are you okay? No. I said, well, is there somebody else that can talk to me and tell me what it is you're looking for? Yeah. And he put his wife on the phone, Betty. And she said, my husband has suffered a stroke. And I have always wanted, I've got goosebumps, I've always wanted a home in Pebble Beach. And we're here, we're in this hospital, and he still wants me to go out and look for a home in Pebble Beach. Do you remember the Owens? Did you do that deal?
I don't know.
They bought a $3 million house, all cash, 7-day close. 7-day close. No, all cash, that's right. All cash. 7-day close because they wanted him to remember it if she were here. The point is that you're right. You want to smile because you got to come to work. You were lucky enough. You were one of the lucky ones that woke up this morning and nothing's wrong with you. You don't have any terrible health issues. No one's told you you have 6 months to live. You actually got up this morning. You could get dressed. You could go to the office because you don't know. That person could get a cold that's on floor and say, you know what, I just can't stay any longer. Will you take over for me? And the next thing you know, you've got a $3 million. Go ahead.
So, no, but there's nothing better than approaching someone with a smile. I mean, they look approachable. They cultivate resilience. As you said, you fall down, you get back up again. I mean, you're not going to succeed at anything if you don't fail at it. And, because when you fail, it creates another resilience, or it can put you down.
Right.
And that's the difference between those kind of people. You just have to get back up again.
Right.
They're mindful of the good. You just never forget it. It's just, there may be this many bad things, but there's 110 good energy somewhere. They let themselves lose track of time, and sometimes they can't help it. There's nothing better than just allowing yourself to kind of wallow in nothingness and just kind of forget about things and kind of wander off and just stop and appreciate things. You just have to force yourself to do that. And just kind of, they nix the small talk for deeper conversation. Anyone that knows me knows I really don't like back talk and chit chat and negative talk, and I just don't like it. And I think it's not good for anyone, and that's what I call nicely a shit disturber. I don't like those kind of people. Those are the ones I would point out. Because they don't add anything positive to anything, and there's just no good. And that's usually because someone's real uncomfortable or unhappy with themselves, and that's their way of becoming liked or something. But I just nix that. I just do it. If you hear people talk negative, just